Hey everyone, John here from All Miniatures Great and Small. Today we're going to be continuing our 3D printing series where we look at models that are available online, whether purchased or free, and I print them out and we talk a little bit about them, give a review, shout out to what we find. I'm just diving back into 3D printing with a new Saturn 8K, and so far I'm having a great time, so I thought I would share some of that enjoyment with you guys. Alright, so this episode we're going to be talking about the American Civil War, particularly naval battles. So if you're not familiar with that, you probably heard of the Monitor and the Merrimack, or the Monitor and the Virginia if you live down south, as one of the pivotal naval battles of all time, where ironclads pretty much made every other ship before them obsolete. So a friend of the channel's, Mike Hott, he created a game over the last few years called Dawn of Iron, which is basically, I won't say like a fast play, but it is a game that lets you play Civil War battles in a relatively short amount of time. Mike had worked at Battlefront and did a lot of work with Flames of War, one of my favorite games of all time, and you can see some of that influence in his game design here in Dawn of Iron, and you'll see it like in the ship cards and stuff like that too, which is awesome, and one of the reasons why I like the game. First publisher is Longface Games. You can find them on Wargame Vault. What I did was I popped on and I just wanted to purchase a couple of the 3D models so I could print them and review them. So these aren't this isn't a paid review or anything like this. I spent my own money on the models. So what I did was I just picked up a couple that I thought were different enough that we could look at different techniques, and they're not all the same. So what I did was I picked up a Passaic class monitor and the armored paddle wheel boat called the Queen of the West. So the Queen of the West is pretty unique. The Passaic class monitors, there was actually a bunch of them, so that's a worthwhile model. Each one of these runs around $5, and they are really nicely detailed. We'll talk about the Queen of the West first. So the Queen of the West is an interesting one. It had an interesting history. It served in both the Northern Navy, and then it was captured and then served in the Southern Navy. And it's just a cool looking model. And you can see some of the quality and some of the detail that was put into it by the designer, which his name's David Manley. And you can see like the posts holding up the holding up the roof. Those are very fine, and that'd be really hard to do in cast resin or in metal. I mean, it's doable, but I printed this as one piece. I didn't have to glue anything together. I didn't have to fiddle with these tiny little pieces. Now, they may get broken off in gameplay. Those aren't the best for models that are going to get handled all the time, but boy, I mean, it looks cool. It's fantastic. Now, what is also cool is for this particular model, the Queen of the West, it did come with a couple of versions. So one, it's the basic unloaded one, and the second one has like a deck full of cotton bales, and the third one is the armed one, which you see here. So it was very nice to include different versions of this to represent the Queen of the West at different points in her career, which is really nice, because when you're talking about resin, this is maybe $1 worth of resin to print this out. So once you buy the file, I could print out a dozen of these, but I don't need to. Now, maybe I print out some of those for different scenarios, but the fact that David included 3 different versions is really nice. So kudos on him, and boy, just a great model. It makes me want to just go and fill my shopping cart with more STLs. The other one was a Passaic. Passaic is basically a monitor like the USS Monitor. It's an improved version. It's the one that came afterwards. In this class there was a bunch of them. The model is really nice. You can see some of the detail there on the deck. Has boats in place, and again, this one actually was printed in 2 pieces, so it does have a removable turret that you can put in and pose, which is nice. Also, point out that there are 2 variants of this. The turret, there's 2 different versions. There's like this one has like a raised lip around the top, which is basically a bullet shield, so people could stand up there and be a little bit safer. And then there's one that does not have that bullet shield. David also does different versions. There's actually a 1/600 version model in the pack. That's this one that I printed. And then there's a 1/1200 scale version, which is, you know, half the size of this, which is also a popular gaming scale. That's basically a one piece. It doesn't, you know, it's not fiddly because it's so tiny with a separate turret, which is really nice. And then there's 2 versions with the raised bullet shield and not. So again, for your $5, you're getting several different versions. And again, with the Passaic class, you know, there were several that participated in battle together, so it wouldn't be unrealistic to print out a bunch of these guys and have them in your fleet. Next up was East Coast Ironclads, and they're found on Wargaming 3D. I went online, visited their site, and I found a bunch of models that they have. It may just be one guy. I think it's just one guy that he has on there, and it's fantastic. He has themed sets, many of them that actually match what you might find in the game, but also lots of individuals. Again, they run anywhere from like $4 to $5, but then he does have again groupings of models that you can pick up for a discount that are really cool. So again, I went online, I found some ships that I wanted to review. I wanted to get, again, a variation of ships, not just all ironclads. And let's show them here. So I've got the Canonicus, I believe that's how you pronounce it, and the Milwaukee were a couple of monitors I picked up. The Hartford, which I printed the masts separately, and I've got those off to the side. And yeah, and oh yes, sorry, this one is the CSS Fredericksburg. Okay. So again, I just wanted to check out different models and see what they look like. Now, one thing here is that the turrets, this is all one piece. The turret's not a separate thing that you 3D print. You can see some of the great detail on these guys. The armor plating on the deck is going to be painting really nice, and when it's you know, going to be just a single color primarily, you know, having some texture there is a way to introduce some variation to the model. So it's, you know, the deck plating, that armor plating is overscale, but they always are at this size, or else you wouldn't really be able to see it. And then here we have the Milwaukee, which is a double turreted monitor. Kind of a goofy looking ship if you ask me. Again, the turrets it's all a single piece. This one's just kind of plain, but that's kind of what the monitor was. The monitors were you know, not the best. All right, so this is the Hartford, and it appears in a lot of battles. It's pretty iconic. The model itself, you can see, is very nice. I glued this one on separate. All the masts are separate, and I did 3D print all of the masts and didn't have any trouble at all. It turned out really nice. And then this is the Fredericksburg. You know, all of the, not all of them, but I guess most of the Confederate ironclads all kind of looked like this. They all kind of took after the Virginia in design, and you can just see, again, lots of armor plating to pick out because the actual shape itself is pretty simple. But hey, you know, and that's one of the cool things about gaming, American Civil War gaming, is that there is this variation. You've got these first ironclads, but you're still running wooden, you know, sailing ships. Granted, they're steam powered too, but they look like sailing ships of old. And then you have, like, from Long Face Games, these paddle wheel boats, which look really cool. So it's just a neat variation of the types of ships you can get on the field. All right, so these I liked a lot. I did have a question, and Patrick at East Coast Ironclad was very responsive, and it's good to chat with him, and I really like that. So it's pretty cool. And again, I think these look great. I'm probably going to end up spending more money with both of these companies. Yeah, if I had to pick a downside for this would be a downside or criticism of both of these companies, is that none of the models are pre-supported. And I think pre-supporting models is becoming more and more important for commercial sellers, you know, that are actually selling their models. And I understand that that adds time, and if these were, you know, maybe $1 or $2 more because they're pre-supported, I probably wouldn't bat an eyelash at still purchasing them, because it does save time. You know, each time you buy one of these, you have to take it into your slicer and support it, which adds time, and then you've got to hope that your slicing was correct. Keep your fingers crossed on that first test print. And then you don't have any failures. And it'd just be nice if it was pre-supported and all that work was done beforehand. Again, I'm only talking about, you know, purchased STLs, and I realize these are small one-man operations. That might not be possible, but if I had to pick something to complain about, that would be it. So very, very minor complaint, because I like these models a lot. Now, the other the thing I wanted to talk about was some of the free models that are out there that you can get. So I went on Thingiverse to see what they have, and Thingiverse is one of the many repositories for STLs. You can find a lot of free STLs there, to see what they had as far as American Civil War Naval goes. And they had a few things. Most of them were pretty basic compared to their paid counterparts. So very low detail kind of thing, and not really appropriate for the scale I was looking for, just a little bit too simplified. But a friend of mine, Mike, recommended this. I saw him build some, and I had to do it. Was the USS Cairo, and this is a gunboat that the Union used. And this is a free model on Thingiverse, and it just blows me away every time I look at it. This is by PC Model Yard. Again, I just went online, I searched for it, and found it. This was meant to be printed, I think originally at 1/700 scale. I'm printing it at 1/600 scale. But you can just see the detail. Now, this model came as like a full version, like it had the full hull, so I did have to take it into Blender in my case, but any you know, 3D modeling program, and cut the bottom off, which is a pretty simple process. I mean, that could be daunting for people who you know, have never played with you know, a 3D design program, but it's very simple. There's tutorials online. Really, you're just creating a giant box, putting it on here, and deleting everything below the line where the box and the hull intersect. So you basically place it on the box like it's sitting on the water. But yeah, I mean, this is amazing, and he has that on there for free. And just look at the details on that. Any imperfections or supports that are still on there that I might have missed with my eyes are completely my fault. But yeah, I printed out like 4 of these because these were, again, a class that was used quite often by the Union, and there was quite a few of them, and they were present in several of the more famous actions. But again, you know, you find gems like this online. You find something that's perfect and free, and yeah, I just like it. So I'll put a link down to this one as well in the description down below. So again, same thing though, it did not come pre-supported, but that one was free, so you know, I can't really complain about it. But then you put all these together at 1/600 scale. You've got your long face games, you've got your East Coast ironclads, and yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun searching for these, doing some research, figuring out what battles you might want to recreate, and printing out the ships you need. I mean, again, it starts to add up money-wise. I mean, even though these are $4 or $5 a pop, if you're playing a battle that has, you know, 10 different ship types, well, now you're talking $50. But that's still a lot cheaper than buying the physical models that are out there. And if you're a gamer on a budget, that might be a way to go. So there you go. I do want to say great job to both Longface Games and East Coast Ironclads, and also to PC Model Yard. I wish he had more American Civil War ships, but that's the only one he's made. You know, great job, guys, on all of these. I'm looking forward to, when the weather gets a little better, slapping some paint on these, and you know, eventually getting them out on the table where they belong. Start having them throw dice at each other. All right, guys, there you go. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please do consider giving us a like and subscribe. If you want to see more 3D printing overviews like this, let me know down in the comments below. Is there a particular subject or STL you think I should take a look at? I'd like to hear that. All right, guys, as always, thanks for watching, and keep on gaming.